Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for being here. Are you actually a little nervous?
I am so bloody nervous.
Really?
Come on. You got nothing to be nervous about.
That's right.
I'm nervous.
You have nothing to be nervous about. Why would you be nervous?
Well, because you've been ripping on me for, 7 years.
At 54, Lisa Marie Presley finally told the world about her darkest moments. After her son ended his life, she kept his body on dry ice for 2 months. But that wasn't her most shocking confession. She admitted to taking 80 opioid pills every day, mixing them with cocaine just to function. Her addiction nearly killed her multiple times. The seizures, the heart failure, the comas. It was all connected to a pain that started decades earlier. The truth about what really destroyed Elvis's daughter was finally revealed. Lisa Marie Presley was born on February 1st, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee. She came into the world as the only child of Elvis and Priscilla Presley. From the moment she was born, the spotlight was already on her. Her father was the most famous singer alive, and her mother was just 22 years old. Lisa Marie didn't just inherit money, she inherited a legacy. When Elvis died in 1977, she became the sole heir to Graceland. By the time she turned 25, the estate was worth over $100 million. She had fame, fortune, and a name the world would never forget. But behind the fortune was a childhood filled with pressure, confusion, and loss. She spent her first few years at Graceland, surrounded by music and magic. Elvis adored her. He gave her horses, toys, and attention. They rode around the property together and even went out for ice cream late at night. She was the center of his world, but it didn't last. In 1972, when Lisa was 4, her parents separated. The media followed every step. Cameras and reporters turned her family drama into public gossip. One day, she was in a fairy tale. The next, her world was split in two. After the divorce, Lisa Marie began living between two homes. She stayed with her mother in Los Angeles and flew back to Memphis to visit her father. The two places couldn't have been more different. With Priscilla, she was in Hollywood, surrounded by actors and fame. With Elvis, she returned to the South, where everything felt familiar but also unstable. She became trapped between two lives, two parents, and two different worlds. She didn't know where she truly belonged. Music became her escape. While she respected Elvis's legacy, she preferred his soft songs like Don't Cry Daddy and Love Me Tender. She also loved artists like Elton John and David Cassidy. Their songs helped her deal with the loneliness. These early influences shaped her future. Her own music would later carry the same kind of emotional honesty and pain, but none of it could protect her from what came next. The distance between her parents, the pressure from the public, and the constant flying back and forth began to take a toll. In her mother's memoir, she shared how Lisa would cry on the phone late at night. She felt lost, and then the worst moment of her life arrived. On August 16, 1977, everything changed. Lisa Marie was 9 years old. She was inside Graceland when she found her father collapsed face down in his bathroom. Elvis Presley was gone. He was only 42. Lisa saw him lying there, lifeless, in a place she was never supposed to go. The bathroom door was always off limits. But that morning, she walked in and saw a scene she could never unsee. The house turned into chaos. Paramedics rushed in. It took several men to lift Elvis onto a stretcher. Lisa screamed and tried to run after him. Adults held her back, but she kicked and fought, desperate to stay near him. She never saw his face as they carried him out. She later said that not seeing him like that was a small mercy, but the pain stayed. Her grandfather's voice echoed through the house. Your daddy's gone. He's gone. And just like that, the most important person in her life was no longer there. Lisa had always feared something like this would happen. She had written poems with lines like, I hope my daddy doesn't die. She sensed something was wrong. She had seen him sick. She had seen him passed out. She was just a child, but she could tell something was deeply off. Her poetry became a warning no one took seriously until it was too late. After Elvis died, Lisa didn't immediately inherit his fortune. The estate was placed in a trust. She had to wait until she was 25 to receive it. By then, both her grandfather and great-grandmother had died. That made her the only living heir. When she finally got the inheritance in 1993, the estate had grown. It was now worth around $100 million. She became one of the richest young women in the country. But money didn't erase the pain. In her memoir, Lisa spoke honestly. She said, my life as I knew it is completely over. The loss hit her harder than anyone could imagine. She wasn't just mourning her father. She She felt trapped with a mother she didn't feel close to. "He's dead, and now I'm stuck with her," she said. That one sentence revealed how broken she felt. Her childhood was gone. The one person who made her feel safe was never coming back. She had to grow up fast, and she did, but the scars stayed. In high school, Lisa Marie felt even more disconnected. Around 1984 or 1985, when she was about 16 or 17, she dropped out entirely. She later described this decision as the beginning of her self-destructive phase, her life quickly filled with drugs, pain, and punk rock. Bands like Devo and the Sex Pistols blasted from her room. She used them to drown out her sadness and confusion about who she really was. Priscilla noticed the changes early. She enrolled Lisa Marie in a Scientology-run school, hoping it would help, but nothing could stop the spiral. Lisa Marie later admitted that the drugs and rebellious behavior scarred her for years. The harder people tried to control her, the more she pushed back. At just 14, Lisa Marie began dating a man who was 23. It was a relationship built on loneliness and confusion. She was searching for love and escape, but instead of care, she was betrayed. The man secretly took compromising photos of her and sold them. The damage was deep. Lisa Marie was already vulnerable, and this betrayal crushed her. The humiliation from the photos pushed her to a breaking point. That same year, she swallowed 20 Valium pills in an attempt to end her life. She was only 14. The pain of losing her father, the pressure from her mother, and now the public shame all became too much. Her overdose forced everyone around her to finally see how badly she was suffering. By the time she turned 17 in 1985, Lisa Marie was still using drugs. Priscilla made a bold move. She placed her daughter in Scientology's Celebrity Center in Los Angeles. The center offered no traditional rehab. Instead, it used Dianetics, structure, and peer mentorship. Lisa Marie rebelled at first. She later admitted that she spent her first 4 days there, high, locked away in her room. But something shifted when she was asked to mentor another teenager. That small responsibility gave her purpose. It was the first sign of real change. When she turned 18 in 1986, Lisa Marie made her commitment to Scientology official. She credited the church for saving her from addiction. It became her new home. It gave her a tribe and a way to rebuild herself. But the price was high. Scientology's grip was strong. It demanded loyalty, secrecy, and total control. Lisa Marie stayed with the church for many years, even as questions and criticisms mounted around her. Eventually, in 2013, she left Scientology. She called it too much and admitted she had been manipulated. Still, for a time in her life, it was the only place that had given her a reason to keep going. Lisa Marie Presley's memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, tells a heartbreaking story of abuse that started when she was just 10 years old. Her mother, Priscilla's boyfriend, Michael Edwards, an actor known for roles in films like Mommy Dearest and The Terminator, began sexually abusing her in the late 1970s. This was a tough time for Lisa Marie, who was still reeling from her father Elvis Presley's death. She describes waking up one night to find Edwards on his knees, touching her inappropriately under the sheets. If she moved, he'd stop, so she learned to wiggle to make him leave. This first incident marked the start of years of trauma that shaped her life in painful ways. The abuse wasn't a one-time thing. Edwards kept coming into her bedroom at night, touching her and even spanking her, leaving bruises on her body. He'd tell her not to look at him or turn her head, adding to the fear and confusion she felt as a child. She believed he was pleasuring himself during these moments, which made the experience even more horrifying. Eventually, Lisa Marie found the courage to tell her mother, showing Priscilla the bruises as proof. But the response wasn't what she needed. Priscilla confronted Edwards, who made weak excuses, saying he was drunk, or, shockingly, that 10-year-old Lisa Marie was flirting with him. Instead of strong action, Priscilla arranged an awkward apology session where Edwards sat on the bed, sulking and justifying himself. This left Lisa Marie feeling blamed and unprotected in her own home, carrying a heavy sense of guilt no child should ever feel. The abuse dragged on for years, and it wasn't just sexual. Edwards had a terrible temper and once threw a dining room chair at Lisa Marie, hitting her in the back. Living in what should have been a safe space became a nightmare, leaving her feeling alone and scared. The constant fear and violation took a toll, contributing to the mental health struggles she faced later in life. Edwards's presence was like a dark cloud over her childhood, making it hard for her to feel safe or loved. Perhaps the most sickening part of the story is how Edwards tried to justify his actions. When confronted, he claimed that in Europe, this was how they teach kids, as if his abuse was some twisted twisted form of education. This outrageous excuse shows how far he went to dodge responsibility, twisting reality to make his actions seem normal. These lies didn't just hurt Lisa Marie, they left her isolated, forced to deal with both the abuse and his manipulative words without enough support from the adults around her. Lisa Marie Presley was only 20 when she married Danny Keough in 1988. He wasn't a celebrity, just a quiet and talented bass player she had met at the Church of Scientology's Celebrity Center. Their wedding was so private that not even her mother Priscilla was present. They chose a quiet life, far from the spotlight her father once dominated. Soon after, they had 2 children. Riley was born in 1989 and Benjamin in 1992. Riley would go on to become an actress. Benjamin would carry the Presley name in silence, a quiet reflection of Elvis. Lisa Marie seemed to be searching for normalcy. That marriage gave her a sense of safety and peace, something rare in her life. During those years, she began writing songs. At first, she didn't show anyone. She was terrified of how people would judge her. Being Elvis's daughter meant any step into music would bring comparisons she wasn't ready to face. She once said she felt paralyzed by the weight of her father's legacy. Still, she kept writing in private. Her lyrics were full of raw feelings, but she held them close, unsure if they were good enough. It wasn't about fame. She wanted her music to be real, not something handed to her because of her name. The marriage to Danny lasted 6 years, from 1988 to 1994. Even after they separated, he stayed in her life. He was more than just an ex-husband. He helped with her music, supported her through hard times, and was someone she could trust. But by the early 90s, Lisa Marie wanted to find herself. She had been a daughter, a wife, and a mother, but not yet her own person. The divorce in May 1994 wasn't ugly. It was simply a turning point. She was ready to step out of the shadows and live on her own terms. Around that time, she began taking her music more seriously. Friends like Linda Thompson and David Foster believed in her. Linda had known Elvis and understood the pressure Lisa Marie faced. David had worked with legends like Whitney Houston and Celine Dion. He saw potential in her voice and writing. They both pushed her to go further. She started recording demos and slowly found the courage to share what she had kept hidden for years. It would take nearly a decade before she released her first album in 2003, but the seeds were planted during this period of self-discovery. Then came one of the most shocking moments of her life. Just 3 weeks after finalizing her divorce from Danny on April 29, she married Michael Jackson on May 26. It happened in secret, in a small hotel room in the Dominican Republic. No guests, no family, not even Priscilla knew. When the news broke months later, the world was stunned. Lisa Marie and Michael had known each other since she was 7, when she saw him perform in Las Vegas in 1975. They had reconnected in the early 90s, and what started as friendship soon turned into something more. In the middle of Michael's child abuse scandal in 1993, he leaned heavily on Lisa Marie. He called her constantly. During one of those calls, he proposed. It wasn't romantic. There was no grand moment, just a phone call full of emotion and urgency. She later said it felt strange, almost desperate. Many believed the timing was no coincidence. The media speculated that Michael saw Lisa Marie as a way to clean up his public image. Still, she said yes. After the wedding, they kept it quiet for almost 3 months. But when the press found out, the story exploded. People questioned everything. Was it real? Was it for show? Priscilla didn't hide her disapproval. She believed the marriage was more about business than love. She even suspected Michael was drawn to Lisa Marie because of her father's name. Fans were divided. Some thought it was genuine. Others thought it was a calculated move. Lisa Marie would later share a detail that shocked the world. She said Michael told her he was still a virgin when they started dating. He said he had only kissed Tatum O'Neal and flirted with Brooke Shields. The rumor about Madonna, he claimed, never happened. Lisa Marie was stunned. She wasn't sure how to react. Their relationship moved quickly. They lived together, and their emotional connection was deep. Michael dropped his public persona when they were alone. She saw a version of him that no one else did. Vulnerable, intense, sometimes fragile. But the magic didn't last. After just 20 months, the marriage ended in divorce in August 1996. Lisa Marie said it wasn't one thing that caused the split. It was a mix of confusion, pressure, and emotional exhaustion. Priscilla remained firm in her belief that the marriage had been a business arrangement more than a love story. Lisa Marie didn't argue. She said the truth was complicated. What started as a powerful bond became something neither of them could hold on to. It was another painful chapter in her life, another attempt at connection that ended in heartbreak. Lisa Marie Presley waited her her whole life to be heard on her own terms. On April 8, 2003, she finally released her first album, To Whom It May Concern. There was no telling what people expected. Some thought it might sound like her father's music. Others assumed it would be a letdown. But the album surprised everyone. It debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 142,000 copies in its first week. That was no small thing. Within 3 months, it went gold, crossing 500,000 sales. For someone who had grown up in the shadow of Elvis Presley, it was a bold step into her own spotlight. What set Lisa Marie apart wasn't just her name. She had written nearly all the lyrics and helped compose every melody except for one track, The Road Between. This wasn't a vanity project. The songs felt raw and honest, sometimes painfully so. She sang about grief, fame, and family, especially in Nobody Noticed It, a song about her father. Her voice wasn't perfect, but it was real. Critics who expected fluff found themselves surprised. Rolling Stone even called the lyrics cutting and unexpectedly honest. For Lisa Marie, this was more than a debut. It was a declaration. Her first single, Lights Out, caught fire quickly. The song made it to number 18 on the Billboard Hot Adult Top 40 and number 16 in the UK. It was about mortality, memory, and the strange fact that even she wasn't allowed to visit her father's grave. The song's eerie mood and confessional tone hit a nerve. It stood out on MTV, and it connected with people far beyond the Elvis fan base. The UK response in particular showed she had something deeper to offer, something real. That same sense of credibility was on full display in Savior, one of the album's darker tracks. She co-wrote it with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. He wasn't known for casual collaborations. His decision to work with her said a lot. The result was haunting and strange, blending her voice with his brooding style. Even Corgan's most loyal fans were surprised by the chemistry. This wasn't a typical pop track. It sounded like something from the edges of rock, and Lisa Marie didn't just keep up, she made it hers. 2 years later, in 2005, she came back with Now What? Some thought the first album was a fluke. It wasn't. This time, she hit number 9 on the Billboard 200 with nearly 56,000 copies sold in the first week. It went gold, just like the last one. But what really stirred people up was her cover of Don Henley's Dirty Laundry. Lisa Marie didn't just cover the song, she sharpened it. The lyrics took aim at the media, at gossip, at everything that had haunted her and her father for decades. The press had mocked and stalked her since childhood. This was her biting response. Some critics thought it was too angry. Others called it brave. Either way, people listened. In her personal life, Lisa Marie moved through a series of storms. One of the most talked about was her marriage to Nicolas Cage. They married on August 10, 2002. It was the same week as the 25th anniversary of Elvis's death. Cage had always been an Elvis fan, which made the pairing seem surreal. Their marriage lasted 108 days. Cage filed for divorce on November 25th that same year. The split dragged on until May 2004. Both of them later admitted it was a mistake, fueled by passion and clashing personalities. It burned fast and ended hard. In 2006, Lisa Marie married Michael Lockwood. They had a traditional ceremony in Kyoto, Japan. Her mother, Priscilla, walked her down the aisle. Her children, Riley and Benjamin, took part in the wedding. 2 years later, on October 7, 2008, she gave birth to twin daughters, Harper and Finley. She was 40 at the time. It should have been a happy new chapter, and for a while, it was. But after the cesarean section, everything changed. Doctors gave her opioids for the pain, and it didn't take long before she slipped into addiction. In her own words, it started as something recreational and quickly became a prison. At one point, she was taking up to 80 pills a day. It was a secret she kept from the public, but not from her children. Riley later spoke about how ashamed Lisa Marie felt. She hated what she had become. After a seizure landed her in the hospital, she finally began to fight her way out. Rehab followed, then relapses, then more recovery. It was a cycle she struggled with for years. Despite the pain, she kept creating. On May 15, 2012, she released her final album, Storm and Grace. Produced by T-Bone Burnett, it was a sharp turn towards something deeper and more stripped down. Gone were the big pop moments. Instead, the album leaned into country, folk, and blues. Critics called it the best thing she had ever made. Rolling Stone said it felt like the album she was born to make. It debuted at number 45 on the Billboard 200 and number 21 on the Top Rock Albums chart, selling more than 9,000 copies in its first week. It wasn't a blockbuster. It was something quieter and braver. The songs dealt with darkness and identity. And for once, critics and listeners saw Lisa Marie not just as Elvis's daughter, but as an artist in her own right. Her personal life, though, kept unraveling. unraveling. The marriage to Michael Lockwood ended in a long, bitter divorce. They separated in 2016, but the divorce wasn't final until 2021. At the center of it all were their daughters. Lisa Marie had relapsed again during the stress. At one point, Priscilla stepped in to care for the girls. The court battles were intense, with Lockwood eventually gaining full custody after Lisa Marie's death in 2023. He even requested over $150,000 from her estate to cover legal costs. Lisa Marie Presley didn't expect her life to fall apart after the birth of her twin daughters in 2008. She had a cesarean section and was given opioids to help with the pain, but the relief didn't stay simple. It slowly turned into a trap she couldn't escape. Before long, she was taking more and more pills just to feel normal. Eventually, her daily intake reached a shocking 80 opioid pills a day. This wasn't a rumor. She wrote about it herself in her memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown. She said she couldn't even tell when her body stopped being able to take it, but it did stop. It always does. Doctors later said even a much lower amount could have killed someone who wasn't used to it. Her therapist called her a miracle just for staying alive through it. But the pills weren't the end of it. Lisa Marie began using cocaine too, not to get high, but to cancel out the sleepiness from the opioids. It became a twisted routine. One drug to wake her up, another to slow her down. The cycle wore her out and made her health worse. She checked into rehab more than once. Some of those facilities cost up to $400,000 a month. Her daughter Riley said her mother was always going through withdrawal and that no doctor ever really understood how bad it was. Lisa went to rehab at least 5 times. Each time she hoped it would be the last. Each time it wasn't. The symptoms she faced were brutal. She called it withdrawal in the big leagues. She shook, couldn't sleep, threw up, and felt like her body was being torn apart. She said there were days she knew she could land in the hospital or worse. After one of her treatments, she was prescribed a cocktail of meds meant to help her stay clean. But those drugs sometimes made her feel even more off balance. She kept trying to get better, but her body was already worn down. Her heart was next. Years of abuse started taking a toll on her heart. Her heartbeat slowed to such a dangerous level that she had to be taken to the ICU. One night, paramedics found her at home, unresponsive, not breathing. They did CPR and brought back a faint pulse. At the hospital, she slipped into a coma. Doctors later said she was brain dead for a time. Her heart had stopped sending oxygen to her brain. She was given a pacemaker. A medical report blamed her cardiac issues on a small bowel blockage caused by past surgery, but it also noted opioid use in her system. Her condition showed how easily the heart and brain can fail together, especially when long-term addiction is involved. It wasn't until a major seizure that Lisa Marie finally started to see the full danger she was in. Riley said that seizure changed her. Lisa began to truly confront her addiction, perhaps for the first time without pretending things weren't that bad. Seizures are a clear warning sign, often caused by withdrawal or overdose. She knew she had to act. She went in for more tests and tried again to get sober. The fight wasn't over, but for once, she stopped denying the truth. Then came the worst day of her life. In July 2020, her son Benjamin died by suicide. He was 27, a gunshot wound. He looked just like his grandfather, Elvis, and carried his own struggles with depression and addiction. Lisa Marie was shattered. She said he was the love of her life. She blamed herself and couldn't let go of the guilt. Her manager said she couldn't even speak after it happened. Her daughters tried to keep her going, but even she admitted it wasn't always enough. For 2 months, Lisa Marie kept Benjamin's body on dry ice in a guest house on her property. She didn't want to let go. There was no law in California forcing a quick burial, so she waited. The room was kept cold, around 55 degrees. Every day, she would go in and sit with him. Sometimes she talked to him. Sometimes she just cried. She later admitted it sounded strange, and even wrote that she imagined Benjamin whispering, "This is getting weird." But to her, it was survival. She had lost her father as a girl, and now she couldn't bear to say goodbye to her son the same way. Before Benjamin was laid to rest, Lisa Marie brought a tattoo artist to her home. She and Riley wanted to get his tattoos replicated on their bodies. They wanted them exact. So Lisa opened Benjamin's casket and showed the artist the real thing. Riley remembered the moment as surreal. She said Benjamin himself would have thought it was insane, but Lisa didn't care. It was her way of holding on to him forever. By 2022, Lisa's health was failing again. She had been battling infections and constant pain. That year, she had to undergo a hysterectomy. Doctors found the infections were serious enough that they had no other option. Her daughter said that after the surgery, her mother never fully recovered. Her body was tired, and her spirit wasn't much stronger. The grief was still too heavy. On January 12, 2023, Lisa Marie collapsed at home. She was rushed to the hospital, but she never woke up. The medical examiner later confirmed the cause was a small bowel obstruction, scar tissue from past surgery that blocked her intestines. It caused her heart to stop. She was 54 years old. The official report said it was a rare but serious complication, but Riley didn't need a report to know what really happened. She said her mother died of a broken heart, too much pain, too much loss, too much trying to stay strong when there was nothing left.